The King of Staten Island. I was able to check this film out, and I have some words, some thoughts. Before we jump into the review, please go down and hit subscribe, turn on your notifications. Also, be warned of slight spoilers ahead, I guess. I'm not gonna give anything major away, I promise, so don't trip. What I mean is you can watch this video and nothing will be spoiled, but we are gonna discuss some small details and I just don't want any of you to get mad at me. So full disclosure, I'm a big fan of Pete Davidson and I have really been looking forward to this film. Just to acknowledge my personal biases here. I love his Weekend Update bits, I'm a huge SNL buff, and I really enjoyed his most recent stand-up special, Alive from New York. I mention those things specifically because where this dude really shines is when he's just being Pete. He's not really known for his characters on SNL, although Chad is hilarious.
Oh, okay.
He's known for just talking about himself, telling stories, making fun of his own life in a manner that's sometimes really dark, which is why he probably received the best reviews of his career so far in Big Time Adolescence. That character doesn't seem like too far of a stretch for him. Anyway, what I'm saying is it does not get more personal for him than this project. As you may know, his father was a fireman who died in the line of duty on 9/11. In the film, Pete plays a character named Scott. Pete's dad's name was Scott Davidson, and in a lot of ways, the film acts as a touching tribute to him. However, I will be referring to the young comedian as Pete in this review, not as Scott. That'll just get confusing, trust me.
Okay.
We've never really seen a Pete Davidson film until now. This is it. This is his style and tone.
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Not your dad.
He co-wrote it with Judd Apatow and David Sears. I also dig on Judd Apatow quite a bit. I figured the film would be very similar to the massive popular Trainwreck, which really helped ignite Amy Schumer's film career. She co-wrote it and it was very much in her voice. Anyway, I gotta say that this film was not that. Like, at all, for many reasons. To say that it's darker would really only be scratching the surface. For example, it's over 2 hours, and they pack a lot into it. It is pretty heavy. The opening scene of the film is basically a suicide attempt. Yeah, I know. Pete's character Scott is driving down the freeway with his eyes closed and almost causes a pileup. Bam, it's immediately established that this is not a laugh out loud comedy. Right off the bat. I may have LOL'd once or twice throughout the entire film, and that was just because of the charming and quirky relationship he has with his immediate friend group gaggle of degenerates. They basically sit around smoking weed all day and selling pills. And the dark nature is surprising because we're talking about Judd Apatow here. There seems to be way more symbolism and dark themes than we're used to seeing from that guy.
And love will steer the stars.
Speaking of moments like that, another thing that surprised me was the film's use of music, or lack thereof. No beats in that heavy opening scene. Frequently throughout the film, I actually noticed there was a surprising lack of a music bed. It was kinda dry, especially for the first half. Again, really emphasizing the drama of these moments and allowing them to play out. When there is music, it's kind of used as a character, kind of what we saw in the trailers with that famous Wallflowers track. Everything seems to represent like a tone or era. To me, it felt like nostalgic references to certain times in Pete's life. I mean, I have no idea if that's the case, that's just how I interpreted it. For example, you should even keep an ear out for an instrumental version of the Chili Peppers' Scar Tissue, which was honestly quite beautiful, and it ignites this nostalgic feeling that makes you go, I know this jam. Anyway, the point is that it was harder to watch than I had anticipated. Pete's character is a really misunderstood dude. More than anything else, that stuck out to me really effectively. The kid's got some problems, and the people he's surrounded with are really worried about him, but also give him a hard time. At one point, his love interest refers to him as an anorexic panda. At another point, to justify his actions and demeanor, somebody just passes it off as nepotism. After which the question is asked, is that a disease? Then the reply is simply, Yes, I thought that was clever. As they say in the film, he still manages to get away with all of his nonsense, not only because of his childhood trauma, but more importantly because he's so freaking likable. A really important component, obviously, that I have to talk about is the casting. Some honestly odd choices that just kind of seem to work. Most notably, Bill Burr plays Pete's mom's love interest, a no bullshit, kinda wise, kinda heroic firefighter. I thought that role was perfect for Burr, and I can't imagine anyone else playing it. He brings Pete into that world of firefighters that he had essentially spent his whole life avoiding. This is where he meets a wacky crowd of characters that includes the likes of Steve freaking Buscemi, who isn't heavily featured in the film but has some really touching moments where he's reflecting on Pete's dad's life. We also see some familiar faces like Jimmy Tatro from American Vandal, which I thought was just a fun little addition. But by far for me, the biggest standout was Belle Powley, who plays Pete's love interest, Kelsey. She's great, man. And I guess she really stood out to me because I wasn't as familiar with her work as I was with the rest of the somewhat star-studded cast. She plays this through and through Staten Islander with a thick accent who loves her borough and wants to work for the city in order to make it a better place. It's a hard, honest, no bullshit character, and she manages to bring like a ton of heart to it. It was just really impressive. Aside from those noteworthy standouts, keep an eye out for some fun cameo-esque appearances like Action Bronson and Machine Gun Kelly. Pete and Kelly have become a somewhat famous little duo just running amok in the industry, having previously starred together in The Dirt. So I thought that was cute. So that's a lot of positives, and I don't want to focus on too many negatives because I did enjoy the flick, and I want everyone to give it a chance to see if it got you thinking the way that it did me. But I gotta say that I didn't feel like the 2-hour and 16-minute runtime was totally necessary. If it wasn't for the COVID pandemic and the film went to theaters, I'm actually left wondering if that runtime would have stuck. At some point, I did get kind of lost in what aspects we were supposed to be focusing on here. Is it Pete's relationship with the kids that he befriends and starts to look after? His relationship with Belle Powley's Kelsey? His struggle with what to do with his life? Is it coming to terms with his mom moving on with her life? Or coming to terms with the fact that some of his friendships might be totally toxic? I don't know, I really don't. And as you can probably tell, there's just a lot going on here. Though they do put a cap on it all, the film does have an ending, which is very important to me and somewhat justifies all of that. Look, when it comes down to it, I might just be a classic millennial who has ADD and prefers his films to be a little shorter. Anyway, when the credits started to roll, I had to rewind and watch the ending again, to sit there and ponder for a bit before saying to myself, that was a good movie. Solid 3.5 out of 5. Good on you, Pete. So that's about it, man. You can see the film for yourself when it's released on digital June 12th, which is a tad earlier than the initially planned June 19th release, so that's rad. When you do get a chance to see it, let me know in the comments what you think. Let me know if you agree. But please, for everyone else, no major spoilers, especially before the film's release. Let's give everyone else a chance to see it with fresh eyes. Lastly, don't forget to hit like and subscribe so you know when we're posting new reviews and reactions and all the silly ass vids we're creating here at CinemaBlend. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.